Happy Tuesday, everyone. I'm Carly. This is Zooty Virtual Safari. As the caption says, it's not quite hump day, but it is the perfect day to talk about our camel Padme with keeper Amanda today. So we are in an area of the zoo not a lot of people take the time to stop by and see. So let me know if camels are your favorite and you make a point to come see them every time you come to Denver Zoo, because that'll make our keeper very happy to hear. But we are kind of behind our 4D theater, just a little west of our Przewalski horses that we featured last week, and we're talking about camels today. So if you have questions about our camel, if you have questions about camels in general, Amanda is going to be here to help me answer those for you. So I just want to say hi to everyone who's hopped on. Hi Abby, hi Nancy, Xander, hello. So we can't wait to get started. I'm going to flip it over. All right, hi Amanda.
Hey everybody, welcome back. So as Carly said, this is Padme. She's our 16-year-old female Bactrian. You can identify Bactrian camels versus the dromedary camels by their humps. So we like to tell people the easiest way to remember is the two-humped camel is like a B for Bactrian, and the one-humped camel looks like a D for dromedary. So these guys, the Bactrian camels, are native to Asia. They share a habitat with the Mongolian horses, or the Przewalski horses, that we met last week. So they are all over the desert of the Gobi Desert and the steppes of Mongolia. So where the dromedary camels are Egyptian or African. So you'll see that their hair coat, or their coat, is a little bit different between the two species. So she lives in the colder climate, so they actually do really well here in Colorado. People even actually have the camels as pets and use them for livestock because they do actually do really well in captivity and here in Colorado.
And they look like they have very, very thick fur.
They do. So she's in the process of molting. So when they lose a very large amount of hair all at once, you can also call it shedding, but she'll lose big chunks at a time. And all of that big, thick coat is in the process of coming off. So chunks will come off around, and we actually save it and we'll give it to the carnivores. And sometimes even the vultures, especially the vultures that live in Mongolia, because they would actually collect it for their nests, and we'll give it to the vultures here to build their nest with and play with and fun stuff like that.
So if you think your hair is looking rough after not being able to go to the salon for 2 months,
picture Padme every year.
Just come out with Padme and you will feel so much better.
So one of our guests, who I believe was on earlier, loves to get to watch them shed. And so as you can see, she has mostly shed out her face, and she rubs on everything, including us. And then her neck will start to go, and it's actually, you can actually put your hands up into that coat right now. And she has these fine little hairs that are holding it on just in case there's another cold snap. But by mid-June, she will be completely naked and hairless and immediately start growing it back, so she's ready for winter.
Very cool. We already have a ton of questions coming in. Hi Katie and hi Ashley. Ashley wants to know, how much does Padme weigh?
So we just weighed her the other day, and she is 1,185 pounds.
Woo! She must be big.
She's a big girl.
Abby wants to know, what is a Bactrian camel's average lifespan?
So they have a crazy lifespan because, again, we have the domesticated ones and like the ones that are always on people's farms and in captivity, and then we have the wild camels. So if you combine them two, because they're both Bactrians, but due to recent genetic testing, they are actually a little bit different. Their range is between 20 and 40. So we would consider her an older girl, but not geriatric.
How old is she?
16.
16. Ashley's wondering if Padme was named after the Star Wars character.
Of course she was. So we used to have some other offspring that were age to her, and they were all named different Star Wars names as well.
Ruby's 4. She's wondering what they most like to eat.
Ooh, what she's eating right now is one of her favorites, and that's some alfalfa. So we give them grass hay is her main diet, and then she gets alfalfa as a treat, and we get her to do some exercise walks and fun stuff like that. She also gets apples and carrots, which I have in a bucket when that alfalfa is gone. But she also loves what we call browse, and that's the trees that we get trimmed from around the zoo. Sometimes we have it shipped in, like for the giraffes during the winter, we have it shipped in from Florida. And she loves different kinds of browse also.
Heather is wondering what amazing behaviors we have trained with Padme.
So Padme hasn't gotten a ton of training. So she has lived with a lot of geriatrics in her life. So she is in the process of getting tons more training. So including scale, she'll get on the scale for us. We have worked with her a little bit on halter training, and that's just to keep her stimulated and do other stuff. We don't take her on walks, and she's not, you know, told to do anything. It's just a different thing for her. She was a bottle baby, so her mom actually was not interested in being a mom, so we had to take over many years ago, which I was obviously not a part of, but another keeper was. And so she is very tractable and loves to be handled and just messed with and played with and scratched. She is learning a side behavior, so she'll present her side for us. And we started working on what we call a cush behavior, where they lay down on their knees. Padme has had some medical problems this last year, which causes some arthritis in her back. So we might be having to rethink that one, because it's sometimes hard for her to get up and down. So we take that into consideration every time we think of new behaviors to teach them.
Hi, Rebecca. You're actually looking at a back-trained camel, because she has 2 humps. Dromedary has 1. And Luke and Fernanda, the kiddos, are asking, what's in their humps? I think there's a big misconception about what is stored in there.
I'm so glad you guys asked. So a lot of people used to think, and still do, because it was a thought for a very, very long time, water in those humps, and that's why they were able to go so long without water. So that is actually not true. So they actually store a lot of fat in those humps, and so that is why they can go up to like a month without any food, and they can go a decent amount of time without any water, because they actually store it in the body. One of the cool things about camels, which is kind of going really far in there, is their blood cells are actually a little bit different shaped than us. So we have perfectly beautiful round blood cells, where theirs are more oval. The thought is that allows more water to be able to be absorbed into those blood cells, and they can kind of fill up a little bit more. Obviously, I am not a vet or a full scientist, so I don't really know all the details of that, but I do know their blood cells are different, which is pretty cool adaptation for these guys.
Very cool. I hope everyone kind of got a little extra out of that answer. I think we all were kind of like, oh, I bet it's not water, but we didn't know about the blood cells. Let's see. Alyssa says, I love the zoo. We love the zoo, and we can't wait for you to come back. Ernie, we agree that Padme is an awesome camel. Was she born here?
She was born here. Yep, she was born to Buckeye, who we just recently lost last year to old age, and her mom was Kamala. She was an older lady, and we lost her about 1.5 years ago.
Nancy says, tell us about camel noses. Is there something interesting about camel noses?
They're the best, camel noses. So they actually have a split lip, and if I was trying to get her to rotate so you can see it, but they are able to pick around of the spiny stuff. So they live in a desert condition. They eat a lot of weird, kind of nasty stuff if they need to. So they have a split lip so that they can maneuver, actually similar to like a giraffe ripping leaves off. They can maneuver stuff around to get those lips. They also have really strong skin on their lips, and then inside of their mouth, on their gums, they have this weird stuff that looks like a whole bunch of fingers that protects them when they're chewing and eating from all that stuff that they're eating. So their mouths are quite interesting all around, but they're super soft too. So that's probably my favorite part about the camel little mouths.
Marley is all up on the SSP. She's wondering if we're going to breed.
So Padme, unfortunately, will probably not breed. So with her older age, it gets a little bit harder when they get above 10, even if they haven't had a baby in the past. So she has lived with her father most of her life, so he was castrated. But if we do get any other males, she might be put on birth control just because of her old age. We don't want any health problems with her to arise because of that.
Absolutely. And Xander's wondering if Padme's going to get any more friends.
That is a big concern with us. So ever since her father passed away, we have been trying to get more camels. So we actually had some in line, and you know, there's something going on in this world right now that has changed a few things. So animal welfare is our top priority. So we are hoping that very soon we can get some more camels for Padme.
Very good. Rebecca, does Padme like the cold?
She loves the cold. So our social media people here love to post on Padme and the Przewalski horses because they are out in it at all times. So if it is snowing, she does have shelter. She has the shade structure that you can see in the background back there, but she has a huge barn that she has access to both sides. So she has the biggest bedroom out of any animal in this entire zoo. And rarely does she use it. Right now, it's starting to get kind of warm for her, especially with all that hair. So she might go in after we're done here. She might go in and lay down in the shade. So sometimes you might not see her because we do leave her with access because of that hair. But they prefer the winter over the summer, and that is for sure. So we kind of laugh that, you know, when it's really snowy out, when it's really bad out, some of the other areas get snow days where, you know, you don't have to go outside much and your animals are inside and this, that, whatever. And we joke that besides the giraffe building, we do not really have a snow day in our section because we have two animals that love to play in the snow. When you come out here, there's footprints everywhere, there's feces everywhere, there's hay everywhere. So we have a full day's worth of work even when it's 3 feet of snow out.
Yeah, so in the winter, if you come and you're like, I didn't see any animals, then you must not have stopped by the camel yard.
Correct. She is always out in it.
She is out here. So Josh just joined, so I'm going to fill him in. Camels do not store water in their humps. It's fat that they can use for energy. Yep, they just store that up and they can go months without eating.
Yep.
So not water like you're led to believe in popular culture.
Yep, and that's just been a recent, they were trying to get it out there more, but up until not that long ago that was still the thought until we started kind of being able to mess with them a little bit more and do some biopsies and all that crazy stuff out there.
How does she react to being able to see the Przewalski horses who are kind of right through those trees?
Sometimes it's entertaining. She doesn't mind them too much. So some facilities are able to actually put them together, which we did discuss, and it might happen in the future because they do live together in their natural habitat. It would not be unlike her to, you know, go up and all of a sudden run across a herd of Przewalski horses in the wild. They would be eating together. They would be cohabitating together. So for now, you know, anytime they're playing, sometimes she pays attention to them. She likes watching equipment drive by. She's very interactive with her space. So she likes when horticulture drives by. It's like they have that good stuff she really likes, and sometimes it accidentally falls in her yard.
Special guest May says hello to Amanda.
Hi, May. We miss you.
May has gotten to get up close with the camels.
She has, and she loved Padme.
Everett's wondering, could dromedary and Bactrian camels exist in the same habitat?
In a controlled setting, they definitely can. And again, there are some farms that do have them together. We actually did a little experiment actually with Padme, and her dad was involved too, but he was a little more nervous. We did have two dromedary camels not too long ago, and one of them started getting sick, and we were worried about them being by themselves because camels are very social animals. So we wanted to prepare for one of the camels dying, so we wanted to make sure that they would have companions. So we tried Padme because we knew Padme is pretty easygoing and she's always interacted with everything pretty well, and Padme did not even react to being there. So they were a little more nervous, and then the other two Bactrians were a little nervous, but she really didn't notice that there were other camels that didn't look like her in there. We have brought Charlie, the Vietnamese pig, over to visit with her. That was a little scary, so we haven't done that as much. So some of the ambassador animals have come over to visit with her, and we are out here a lot because we want to keep her social. We want to keep her active. We want to keep...
All right, we're back, everyone. Sorry, the phone literally overheated. Literally only in Colorado in May can you both have snow and your phone overheat. So thank you for bearing with us. We moved to the shade so that we could bring it back and keep the phone out of the direct heat. Padme's like, I get it. I'm hot too.
Right?
She wants one of those little warning things.
Seriously. She's like, I'll be inside the rest of the day, everybody.
So we lost quite a few of our viewers. I totally understand. I'm so sorry, everyone. Let's talk about that second life for the animal fur hair from the camel.
Oh, yep. So their hair, when we remove it or they shed it on their own, which they do quite a bit more, we will repurpose it around the zoo, and we'll give it to all different animals, from the hyena, who will eat it and roll in it and play with it, to different carnivores, to the birds who will use it for bedding, for nesting, We try to disperse it throughout the entire zoo because everyone loves it.
Oh, Ashley, thank you. She says my phone overheated too. I think running the live,
Yeah.
being outside, it's very hot. It's typical. So this was a first. This was a first for us on Virtual Safari. Welcome to Denver's summer.
Right?
It's first summer here. Next week it'll be third winter.
Padme hopes.
I know. I mean, Padme, we might get another snow. I don't want to get your hopes up, but we could. We could. Hello from Sweden. Hi, Samuel. What's your favorite thing about working with camels?
Their personality. They're so sweet, and she is just a big sweetheart. So everyone's having to adapt to the masks that we're wearing, and she is definitely one that has taken plenty of opportunities to try to figure out where our faces went. She is very much just like a horse. They interact by smelling each other. So every morning she'll greet us with the cutest little grumble on the planet, where, you know, it's just a very sweet little chuffity grumble, asking for her breakfast. And then usually it's followed up by blowing her nose onto our nose, and we'll greet her back by doing the same. But obviously we don't want to do that right now, just in case they can get it. The chances are a lot lower with her, but we want to be cautious and not get her sick if any of us are sick. So we're wearing the masks, and so she likes to smell our masks instead, and smell our hair. That's one that her and her mother really like to do, is smell our hair. But they definitely have the sweetest personalities. So we take her on morning walks. We've rearranged her yard a little bit so that she has some exercise obstacles where she can go over some logs, she can go up on some sand mounds, she can go over tiny little hills that might seem silly, but it's really good for her to get the exercise and to walk up and down hills to build muscle.
Mila has a great question. Who are they most closely related to?
So they are kind of their own thing, but they are related to other dromedary camels. So they are in the same bigger area as the other even-toed ungulates. So even though these guys have some pretty crazy feet, which we can talk about, they have two toes like a giraffe, like an okapi. So they are classified as the same area as them, but they are a part of their own grouping. So they are in their own family.
Let's talk about those feet, because I don't know if everyone can see them at home. It looks like they have maybe like a little sheath over their toe.
Yep, so they have feet that are similar to an elephant, where on the bottom they have a very soft pad that it's very thick, but it makes it so that it's a little easier for them to walk on the sand, and it doesn't burn when they walk on that really hot sand. It doesn't freeze when they walk on the really cold ice and stuff. So then they have these crazy two toenails that come out, and they are more like a hoof material, or even a toenail, because hooves are made out of keratin, but we would trim them like a toenail. So we actually have special little nippers that are smaller than a horse nipper that we were actually able to trim them with. So for the most part, we don't really need to do a lot with her because she does walk enough to trim them down, but it helps grip in the ice when they need that. So it helps them walk a little bit better. And then further up their knees, we get a lot of questions about, there's weird marks all over her, and they kind of look like scars. They are actually extra padding. So she has one under her chest for when she's laying in the hot sun. She has one on the backs of her, well, on the front of her knees, but on her back legs, and then on her front knees. And that's so when they are laying in the hot sun or on the cold, that none of their actual skin is touching. So that is another adaptation, so that when they're laying down, they don't get burned and they don't freeze. So you'll see them laying down in the hot sun. Usually they're, again, in that weird position of a cush, where they're not laying flat out like snoozing, but when they're laying down, kind of sitting upwards.
Daniel loves a good dad joke. Apparently he says they're sandals. Maybe that's where it comes from.
That might need to go on a sticky note in somebody's office.
It might. I think someone will be jealous he didn't think of it first.
Right.
Shannon says she's just joining. Well, Shannon, that's okay. We had a technical difficulty anyway.
Yep.
What is the average lifespan of this beauty?
20 to 40. She is 16 years old, so we would consider her middle-aged. Not quite an old lady, but not a young spring chicken either. So I'm going to mention something for all those little kids out there, because they love talking about poop.
Oh, yeah.
So Padme just pooped, and if you guys can see it, they are tiny little milk duds. So these guys and a lot of animals that, especially like even African animals, desert animals, they have to conserve all of that nutrition that they have. So she has the humps, she has a lot of fat storage that she can use, but one of the other ways is to make sure that they are using everything they take in. So if I was to run out there right now, pick up the poops, which I've done plenty of times, and then showed you my hand, it would not be that dirty. So obviously microscopically it would be dirty. I wouldn't want to go eat after touching it, but my hands wouldn't be dirty because they absorb all of the water, they absorb all the food, and that is truly the most efficient poops that you can find. So there's not much of the waste products in there except for the stuff that they will not use.
The more you know.
Yeah. There used to be a keeper a while ago, and I've of course never played this trick on anybody, that they used to keep milk duds or whoppers in their pocket, and they would go by, and when they had a big group of kids watching, they would pick up what looked like a poop, smell it, and put it in their mouth. That is a very mean trick.
That is a very traumatizing. Hi, Michael. No word on our reopening. We've been commenting on this. We have a lot of work to do with our city and state governments and guidance, so just be patient and we will let everyone know. And if you really want to be the first to know, you should sign up for our Denver Zoo newsletter. That's usually the first blast of people to find out that type of information are on that email list. So you can go to our website and subscribe to our email list. So in terms of cleaning up poop, that is camel poop pretty easy to clean up?
It is. So we use a rake and a shovel. The shovels we use are funnily expensive. We actually use sifting shovels because we have a lot of sand in this yard because, again, they are from the sandy area. So we do have some grass and some green out here, but we also have the sand, which is where she spends most of her time. So we have sifting shovels that you would see like in a road basing construction area, and that allows us to pick up all of those tiny poops but preserve our sand because we don't want to have to waste all of our sand and all of our substrate.
Absolutely. Hi, Cindy. Thanks for watching. Tell your mom that Amanda and Carly say hello. Do they have very kind of strong tongues the way giraffes do, where they could strip browse?
So they have a very hard palate, so their tongues are really soft. It is strong, but not the same as a giraffe. So they would use their lips to get whatever they want, and then they would use that hard palate in their teeth to rip it off. So they do graze more than browse, but they will still browse on whatever they can find. So they are opportunistic feeders, so they'll eat anything that they can find, including sometimes stuff we don't want them to. So they do have these massive canines in there that males are a little bit bigger, but the females do have them. So you don't necessarily want to get bit by a camel.
Yes. Hi, Genevieve. I'm glad you enjoy the presentations, our virtual safaris as well. Shannon's wondering what age they are usually when they start having babies.
So they can be around 2 to 3. We usually would like them to be a little older just because, like even some domestic horses, we want to make sure their body is fully ready for that. But 3 years old would be an okay age for females, especially to give birth. Males could, as long as they're tall enough to do the job, they can do that.
So even 3 to 4, Padme is still 12 to 13 years past that ideal
Correct.
date where she would start giving birth. Emily's wondering if they migrate.
They can,
in the wild,
but not that much. So they kind of have a central area that they like to live in the wild, and it's kind of a small area. And unfortunately, because of human interactions and humans moving in on their territory, that area has gotten a lot smaller. So these guys are critically endangered. Due to more recent genetic testing on skin, on blood, they have determined that because they have a domesticated species of Bactrian camel, the wild camels are actually a little bit different and have a different adaptation and look. So a fun little Google activity would be look up wild Bactrian camels versus the domesticated Bactrian camels, and you'll actually see their shapes are quite a bit different than Padme's here. So she would be considered one of the domestic species, and that's actually better. We don't want to be pulling the wild species out of the wild, but we want people to be able to see them, so they are ambassadors to those wild camels. So they're close enough, and they do really well in captivity, so we want to be able to keep the wild ones out there and keep these guys so that everyone can enjoy them and get to see them and show how cool they are and why we need to protect them.
I'm going to take the last little round of questions here, starting with Michael and Eddie. They want to know, does Padme spit? They see camels spitting in movies.
Padme spits if she gets upset. So Padme had to get a shot this morning, her vaccine, just like any animal, and she does not like getting her vaccines. So thankfully, we have a really good relationship with her. So we warn her, we don't trick her, we don't, try to hide it from her. And she warns us in return. So she tells us, hey, I don't like that. I'm going to spit if you keep doing that. Thankfully, we are very much ninja shot givers, and by the time she tries to tell us that she's actually going to spit, the shot is done. So she gives us plenty of warning, and it sounds like she's spitting, but a lot of it's fake spit. It's only if she's, really mad at us for something, which we usually don't do, that she would spit at us. So Padme has not gotten us really ever. She's a pretty big sweetheart, and we've never had to do anything to cause her to spit.
Karen's wondering, is their sound like a rumble, the type that an emu would make?
No, so they can get really upset and make a lot of different vocalizations. If we ever have to sedate them, they talk a lot and they grumble a lot, but her morning talk is very much just this little like the cutest thing on the planet, and she'll do it in the morning and sometimes at night if we bring her treats.
Oh, Arena's asked a question that I don't think I've seen anyone else ask. How tall can they get, and how tall is Padme?
That's a good question.
At
that
the
I
shoulder
don't know
or
off
the
the top
hump?
off the top of my head. So when I'm standing, I'm 5'3"-ish. When I am standing next to her, she's significantly taller than me, even at the shoulder. So she is between 7 and 8 feet tall, probably.
Just like our keeper Mike.
Yes. So she can go through our doors. So we actually, part of our exercise is our scale is in the service area, and she can go out those doors. So she's got to be less than 8 feet tall, but she's a tall one. And the males would be about a foot taller than her and even bigger.
Toby's wondering, what are the leading causes to them being endangered? We talked about that habitat loss.
Yep, habitat loss. It's mostly human issues. So the humans, even just farming and taking away more of their habitat, causing them to have fewer places to go and fewer places to eat.
Linda, you're right on. She says she seems sweet.
She is the sweetest thing. Everyone falls in love with her too. If you come back and see her, even when we have our tiger encounters, we actually walk behind the scenes and kind of get to see her, and sometimes she will come up and greet people back there. And so if you get to get up close with her or even come to her exhibit and she's on her walkabouts, you'll see how sweet she truly is.
Tyler, Padme is a female. What is their best sense?
Ooh, probably I'd have to say their eyes. So camels also have a cool adaptation where they have multiple eyelids, so that when a huge dust storm comes, they can close this really tiny thin one that they can still see through but protect their eyes. So they can actually see really, really well. They have those cute little ears that they are able to shut down, and their nose is able to fully shut during those sandstorms as well. But as you could see when she was even walking around, she was able to smell out those carrots and see really well. We'll hide stuff from her just to get her exploring, and she finds every single last bit of treats that we hide from her so that she walks around.
All right, everyone. Padme seems to be about ready to maybe go inside, grab some shade. And I don't want to overheat this phone again. It's not mine to overheat. So thank you all. Julie says she remembers when Padme was born.
Oh, little tiny Pad.
Oh, Julie has a great memory. So hi, Josh. Sorry if you just tuned in. We are wrapping up, but we will have this entire live stream on our YouTube with our entire library of Zoo to You virtual safari. So if you have missed any of them, I think we're up to like 40 by now. If you've missed any of them, or you want to see if there's a specific animal you want to go watch, just go to our YouTube page. Just search Denver Zoo on YouTube. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Dayton and Genevieve. We appreciate everyone who's been tuning in, asking great questions, making us feel really good about doing these every day. So we will be back tomorrow for, should we just say?
I think we should.
All right, on 3. 1, 2, 3. Hump day.
Oh, hump day. We were not on the same page.
Amanda and I are not. I was going to say hump day for tomorrow for Wednesday because of camels. Amanda was going somewhere else hump with day. That. I don't know about that. So
I'm excited for tomorrow's live.
Yes, we will see you tomorrow. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone.